Good Tuesday morning, everybody. This is Grace, and I'm here today. I want to talk about women supporting women in whatever they choose to do. And it's important that it's a choice what they do. I'm going to tell a story, but I need to back up a bit and tell a little bit my history and what led to this. I did a double major, as a Bachelor of Science, in psychology and sociology. First, it was psychology, and then I added sociology later on. And the difference stood out there, but not as much. This is until graduate school. But as an undergrad, I kind of thought that I was messing with my mind a little bit, taking these two subjects as majors. But like I said, once I hit graduate school, it really stood out. And the difference was that I saw was that sociology, my master's degree was in sociology, but I was working on a PhD in counseling and developmental psychology concurrently, and I also worked on a master's of arts in teaching, not education but teaching, and I took a variety of classes at graduate level. That would be master's and PhD level, and those were like in women's studies and something along that line. I was a career student. But the differences between sociology and the psychology was often in family sciences. That's very important, family sciences. And the difference was that in sociology, people were very open-minded. They didn't say that a woman had to be a certain thing, had to go into certain fields, and she had to think a certain way. She had nothing like that. They were very open-minded all around. My areas of specialization actually were in gender studies, not just female, gender studies, and multiculturalism. So anyway, the difference was there. Sociologists were very open-minded, but the people studying to become counselors, they were not. And that really did surprise me, especially because the university I was attending at the time was very liberal. But they were very closed-minded, very black and white thinking, which, think about that. You either had to be this way or that way, and if you weren't, you were this or that. And that was not good. That was not a good way for them to be thinking, in my opinion. Remember, this is all my opinion. I'm not a counselor. I'm not a healthcare professional provider. Simply my opinions from my experiences and so forth. Don't take it as counseling and advice. Got that out. Read the disclaimer in the description box below this video on YouTube. Okay, pardon my voice today. I'm a little out of breath, actually. I was out a good chunk of yesterday, and the electricity went off. But anyway, it's another story. With my allergies and all, I don't know. I'm a little tired, too. But anyway, the story, and now that's the background. So the story was about a class I took, and this one was in family sciences, very important, and a classmate that was sitting next to me, and I was probably, I would think, in my 30s, somewhere in my mid-30s maybe, late 30s, I'm not sure. It was quite a while back. But, so we're in this class, and it's all women, it's all females in this class. I don't remember the name of the class, but it was a counseling course, of course, in counseling, and she was a little older. I think she was in her early 40s, and she was sitting next to me, and she started, just suddenly started talking to me. People do that to me. Some people will say that's because I don't believe in a mystical, magical way. Not at all. Empath, but people do that to me. They just start telling me that all their troubles and stuff. Strangers. But she's told me a story, told me about some of the people in the class, and I think she was kind of surprised that there was somebody in the class who was open-minded, like I am, and wasn't am. And she told me that the other students, that she's basically been a bit ostracized from the rest of the students in that field, and I asked her why, and she said that because she spoke out, and she says she is at the time she was a homemaker. okay, a homemaker. And I'm listening to her and a little bit surprised, and not by that she's a homemaker. She was also a student, and which I was a homemaker and a student also. At the time, I was actually by myself. But anyway, she she was very just very upset. She said that they ridiculed her basically because she had chosen to be a homemaker, and they felt like that was not appropriate for a woman, an educated woman. Okay, it's basically yeah. You remember this is the difference that's standing out, and of course it was her choice, and she made a comment that to me that it was her choice to do that, but she went back to school so she wanted to go into counseling, become a counselor, and she her children were older and everything, were getting older to take care of themselves, and so she wanted to become a counselor eventually. Okay, now so she seemed like she was very happy to find somebody that in the class that she could talk to, wouldn't judge her because she was a homemaker. um, but I think it was the same class, another woman who was originally from a different country. um, then Well, she was a little older also, and we were having a conversation or something, and I've mentioned that Adam grew up in a different country across the globe, and on video here. But this in the class it came up, and this woman who's from a different country herself originally, she made a comment. You married somebody from his country, and again, it was like these moments like this were just pointing out the differences between people in sociology and people in psychology. At least at that university, which I said was a very liberal university, and so it was shocking to me. I mean, not really shocking because by that time I'd kind of gotten over being shocked by what people would say. Probably years before then. But then there was another class, and this was a different class, but it was still in, I don't know if it was a psych class or family sciences, but it was in psychology. And we were having, I don't remember what was going on, but there was a woman in the class and she was having a conversation with somebody or some women not too far from me, but not all that close. And she was pretty loud, so I could hear her. And she made a comment that when people come to this country, she was obviously from this country because of what she was saying. She said, when people come to this country, they need to behave as we do. And I'm sitting there, and I'm just listening to her. I'm thinking, well, which one of us would she behave like? I wouldn't behave like you. I'm from this country, so which one of us are they going to follow? It was her, pardon it, ignorance. I can't handle people who believe in something that way. I mean, to a lot of people, it's the the melting pot. No. To me, it's the salad bowl. Every bit is different, but every bit's important. So, yeah, that was my, it continued. There was another class. Um, this is a separate class than these two that I just mentioned. And it was, I don't remember the name of the class, but the title to the class, but it was another one that was, I think it was family sciences. And we had to do like a presentation. Okay. Now, I don't remember if it was in the same class or two different ones, but I think it was two different ones. We had to do a topic, choose a topic and do a presentation over it. Write a paper, and one of them, the classmates would judge you. And the professor would do 50%, and the classmates would do the other 50%. And the other one, I think it was just the professor. And because I knew that there were two subjects that I did not know enough about, and I knew that I would need to know these because I had chosen to become a counselor, a relationship counselor. Okay, now there are different types of counselors. Everybody seems to think that if you go to a counselor, the counselor is going to have specialized in everything, which some may have, but really, I think it's starting, especially more lately, to people narrow it down. And mine was relationship counseling for women, and to be, sorry, allergies, but to be more specific, it was when they were not in a relationship. Okay, that would be after they had, say, divorced or broken up with their boyfriend, and before they started dating again. So during the recovery, some call it recovery, some call it healing, because recovery to me is forever. Um, but the healing stage is to where then they would go to get back into it if they chose to, back into dating if they chose to. That's what I studied to become a counselor for. But everybody had their own, areas. But for me, the areas that I didn't know enough about was would be bisexuality and homosexuality. And so I chose, I don't remember which one I chose to do first and which class, but so I chose to do those. And in one class in particular, I think it was the one that the students did 50% of judging to give you a grade. A woman at the end of the class, she was a younger woman, and she walked up to me and she thanked me for doing mine. I think it was the bisexuality, either one. But she come up and she thanked me, and she said that the classmates are usually so close-minded that that kind of topic would just um, bring them to fury. They would become furious, and their comments. One actually made a comment to me that she's not going to do counseling for people who are bisexual, whichever one it was, bisexual or homosexual. I think it was homosexual in this one. She's not, so she doesn't need to know that information. Oh, really? Seriously? Okay. I mean, I could go on with stories, but the basic thing is, and I learned this very early on, it's just like on a job, there will always be that one. Most of the students were not like that, but there was always that one. And not the same person, it could be, because you're in the same field of study, but there will always be that one. There would always be that one that is going to be negative, is going to be opinionated in a very ignorant way. Now, I want to make a statement here. I hear a lot of people, not a lot, but I've heard it enough to really kind of disgust me, say that we all know that there are bad counselors out there, and they'll leave it right there. Okay? And then they'll go on to say that because I have experiences, therefore I know what I'm talking about. Okay, this is all kinds of wrong. That's my grumbling Gus there, my dog. But no, just because I'm female, I don't know more than a gynecologist. That's the kind of logic that's going on here. It's because I've had experiences, I can be considered better than some of these counselors. Okay, these counselors have to go through a lot, okay, to become counselors, for one thing. And even the worst counselor, just because you've experienced something doesn't make you know even more than that person. So I want to point that out. It just amazes me because they will leave it right there. We all know they're bad counselors or therapists, and leave it hanging. Well, there's more to that, and they were not going to say that. The more to it is that it's very rare to find one. It's very rare. They have to go through so much and be tested, and wherever you live, it might be different, but it could be a board, it could be whatever that is actually qualified to make an assessment on them. Okay, they have to go through, hear so much just to become one. So somebody like that's not going to make it through. They're not. Okay. Chances are you're always going to have an exception to every rule, but that's not the rule. Okay. The exception is not the rule. But it really does bother me when I hear that. And most often it's somebody who's looking for either popularity or is going to ask for money. Okay? And it's very dangerous that they do that. It's very dangerous that they go on and say, therefore, I can give you counseling and advice. And there's no disclaimer ever. That's very dangerous. I really think that needs to be pointed out. So anyway, those are my stories that I want to mention right now. But I do think that women, the whole thing of women supporting women goes back to the part of she had chosen to be a homemaker, and she really has every right to do so. But the negativity thrown at her because of it, because what, they wouldn't have chosen that, and then a class of family sciences, it was amazing. But you find people like that. Now, however many it was, I don't know. I don't know if she really meant the whole class did, or if it was maybe perhaps that one woman that was saying you married somebody from that country. It could have been because she was sitting on the other side of her. So yeah. Anyway, enough on this for now. Y'all have a good day.